All right, we want to bring you the day's stories here on Business Live. Now, Minister for Trade and Industry, Alan Chirmanting, is urging businesses in the European Union to establish their presence in Ghana by building manufacturing plants and administrative offices. According to the minister, Ghana is positioned to be the best place to enter the African market after the implementation of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. The minister made the appeal during his opening remarks at the Ghana-EU Business Forum, organized by the EU under the theme Boosting Investment for Sustainable Jobs in Ghana.
Works and Housing Minister Samuel Atachia has impressed on architects to embrace greenhouse architecture so as to ease the cost of house construction.
If you don't do that, we'll have these conferences and the concrete is lost. And this is what I'm trying to fight.
The Trades and Industry Minister made the appeal in an opening address at the Ghana-EU Business Forum organized by the European Union under the theme Boosting Investment for Sustainable Jobs in Ghana. According to Alan Chirmanting, government has created the right fundamentals for businesses to thrive and expand into other countries. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement is expected to make Africa the largest single market in the world with a GDP of about $2 billion. The Trade Minister promised to ensure safety of businesses that want to take advantage of the free trade agreements in the country.
With the signing and ratification of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. And I think that in exploring ways of deepening the relationship between Europe and Ghana, I want Europe now to use Ghana as the new gateway and the entry point into an Africa that has a market of over 1.2 billion people with a GDP of over $3 trillion, and then the largest single free trade area in the world. I hope that we can work together as Ghana and then Europe to make this a reality.
EU ambassador to Ghana also used the occasion to assure government of the European Union's support in creating a win-win partnership for the various investors.
The European Union has launched an ambitious plan to boost private investments in Africa, spanning from big infrastructure projects to projects from small companies or individuals with a great idea but struggling to find finance. It is called the External Investment Plan, and it aims to invest €4.5 billion, more or less more than 25 billion Ghana cedis, to give you an idea, from the EU budget, to leverage 44 billion of private investment in Africa. In other words, we hope to multiply more or less by 10 the capital that we are going to put into this instrument.
The EU-Ghana Business Summit is a two-day event which seeks to create a platform for business partnerships between Ghana and the European Union. Ebenezer Sabate's report for Joy Business.
Meanwhile, government has intensified its push to host the Secretariat for the Continental Free Trade Area. Senegal, Egypt, Kenya, Madagascar, Ethiopia and Eswatini have all put in a bid to host the Secretariat, but the Finance Minister says government has done the necessary groundwork to win the contest. The minister says he's used the African Development Bank's annual meetings in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, to engage colleague ministers and even the president of that country for his support.
As you know, we are bidding to have the Secretariat in Ghana. But the fact of the matter is that in, I think, 2011, when there was a ministerial meeting in Ghana, that's when the initial discussions of the CFTA was mooted. And then in the 18th session of the AU, President Jonathan Mills actually moved the motion for the Continental Free Trade area. So we've sort of come a long way in that, and as you know, we were the first to ratify and indicate our interest in doing this. So I think there's a state of preparedness for that. And we are, of course, in competition with some 5 other countries. That's Egypt, Eswatini, Madagascar, Kenya, Ethiopia, and I think Senegal. And I dare say that we should be able to bring this home. You know, The amazing thing is that with all that Ghana has done and our leadership in Africa, we don't even have one AU organization institution in our country. So I think that the empathy is there from our colleagues and from the president's colleagues, and we are fairly confident that we should be.
Well, the lack of political will and adequate infrastructure to support the Continental Free Trade Area could be the biggest threat to its full implementation. These are the views of some participants at the ongoing African Development Bank meetings in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. Georgia has more in this report.
From next month, Ghana and other African countries that have signed up onto the Continental Free Trade Agreement are expected to open their borders to aid the full movement of goods without the required import duties and taxes on them. The Finance Minister from Zimbabwe, Professor Ntole Nkube, believes that the various African governments must also work first dealing with the free movement of persons if they really want this pact to be successful.
I think one key area is that of movement of people and allowing Africans to come in and out of Zimbabwe in terms of visas, or indeed into Ghana or into Nigeria or wherever. But this shouldn't be difficult. We can learn from other regions. ECOWAS, for example, has done very well in terms of eliminating visas for travel. So movement of people, to me, is low-hanging fruit that I think we can fix very easily. Even just in terms of getting a visa on arrival or a visa online, so just make it easy, then hopefully eventually eliminate visas.
President of the Eastern South African Trade and Development Bank, Admasu Tedase, tells Joy Business, for private businesses, they want the required structures to be implemented during the implementation of this pact.
We believe in Ghana. We think Ghana has a very strong economic future. We think that Ghana has a lot of potential to benefit from trade with Eastern and Southern Africa. So we really think we can step into that space and be very practical about it. And study the trade requirements, the export opportunities that Ghana has, but also the import opportunities that exist there for other countries. And so we would typically step into a country and do a country strategy and compare that to the regional strategy and then look to start promoting the flows.
For some, it is clear that political leaders hold the key to this agreement in terms of realizing this full movement of goods and services as well as persons in the region to aid this Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Georgia Fish report from Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. Back home in Ghana, Works and Housing Minister Samuel Atachia has impressed on architects the need to embrace greenhouse architecture to ease the costs associated with building construction. Speaking at the second Ghana Green Building Summit organized by Yechem Property Consult in conjunction with IFC Edge program, the sector minister explained that government is ready to provide the needed funding and support to roll out greenhouses on a massive scale.
Works and Housing Minister Samuel Atachia has impressed on architects to embrace greenhouse architecture so as to ease the cost of house construction.
If you don't do that, we'll have these conferences and the concrete is lost. And this is what I'm trying to fight. I think I've had enough of theory. Is there any Ghanaian of consequence who will sit down there and partner with the ministry? I promise you land. I will even make a budgetary allocation for you in terms of mobilization.
The conference saw stakeholders in the housing sector advocate policies and legislations to prioritize greenhouse architecture in Ghana. Architect Richard Ni-Dade is president of the Ghana Institute of Architects.
In a growing economy like ours, which is relatively young, we really do need some kind of government legislation or sense of direction to push us to do these things. Without that, people will always stick to their old ways of doing things. So it is important.
Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Association tells Joy Business that more needs to be done on the side of government to improve the yields of greenhouse architecture.
We need to get policy drive to either compel the design and construction to adapt it.
Executive Director of the Ghana Institute of Engineers, Kwabena Japan, explained to Joy Business the need to adopt the culture of greenhouse architecture in the country.
Now, when we talk about green economy, we're saying that there should be more efficiency, in the use of energy, in the use of water, and it's all linked to the SDGs.
Meanwhile, Executive Director of Yecham Property Consult, Cyril Ni Aite Tete, who is the founder of the summit, believes a policy direction would help enforce the concept of green architecture.
If you leave Ghanaians, or if you leave residents or future homeowners to build green, it won't work, because there's a perception out there that green is a luxury or it's a nice to have, really. But like I said in my opening address, it's not a nice to have, it's a must have, because there are impacts on you, the person, as an individual. It has wellness impacts. We have headaches, we have sinus issues because of the kind of poor indoor air quality that is trapped in our homes and even in some of our offices.
The second Ghana Green Building Summit is organized by Yecham Property Consult in conjunction with the IFC Edge program.
In other news tonight, head of global markets at Stanbic Bank, Ifua Chumwabule, is advising businesses that depend heavily on foreign exchange to limit movement of currencies so they can hedge against the cedi's depreciation. She was speaking at the Stanbic Bank Trade Series event in Accra. Depreciation of the cedi has been attributed to both internal and external factors that either directly or indirectly affect the local currency. Unfortunately, it is said that businesses have no or minimal control over the depreciating trends. According to head of global market at Stanbic Bank, Ifua Chumwabule, businesses can have some control over the movement of currencies.
Externally, as a country, we are very exposed to external investors. We do have close to 30% of our local bonds held by foreign investors, which means that whatever is happening on that external front directly affects us. So to the extent that we are 30% exposed, if for any reason there's something happening externally, it could be reposition or rebalancing of portfolio managers' portfolios. So to the extent that I need to reduce what I'm holding in emerging markets or frontier markets as a hedge fund, it could affect Ghana, and we have no control over that. So in a nutshell, what I'm saying is that there are lots of factors that affect the currency, most of which we have no control over as businesses or as individuals. So there's a need for us to do something about that. So we're telling businesses that we know there's a significant portion of their business that is dependent on foreign currency, and therefore movements in the currency does affect them adversely. It is in their interest to ensure that they take control of that bit, and that can only be done by hedging those positions out, either partially or in full.
She also reiterated the high level of imports in the country supported the need to increase exports.
As far as we are demanding that foreign currency, the price will continue to go high. How do we ratify that in the long term would mean us looking for substitutes for some of the things we import. It's not something that can be done overnight. We have to radically change some of the things we do, from our agribusiness to our thinking to the way our psyche as individuals in Ghana would have to change for us to develop and find alternatives of what our tastes are outside the shores of Ghana. So once that is done over time, then we'd get there. In the short while, it would be to increase exports just to get more flow coming in.
The managing director of Stanlib, an investment subsidiary of Stanbic, Emmanuel Alexiao Isiedu, advised businesses to endeavor to make the right choices when going to the capital market. According to him, the central bank's intervention in the banking sector comes as an advantage to some investment firms.
There's a process that is ongoing. The central bank has injected cash has injected funding into the system to bail out the banks. Because those banks are being bailed out, if you're an investor who would put in your money with an investment firm, and that investment firm is exposed to those banks, in theory, then they should also be getting some amount of liquidity. The regulator is also trying to do a number of things. I mean, better investor education, better investment firm education, raising of minimum capital requirements, tighter regulations and guidelines. And so we're not where we want to be, but I would want to think that we have gotten over the worst of it.
The Stanbic Bank Trade Series is organized to inform businesses on the key trends in the economy to enhance trade. And now let's take a trip to Canada, shall we? Ghana has made its maiden appearance at the Global Petroleum Show underway in Calgary. The three-day event is attracting over 50,000 upstream petroleum professionals, providing a platform for the Petroleum Commission Ghana's upstream petroleum regulator to pitch to prospective investors about existing opportunities in the country. Now, in partnership with the Ghana Chamber of Commerce, the Commission is leading over 20 Ghanaian companies to explore opportunities and secure the right partnerships with their international counterparts. Let's listen to the CEO of the Petroleum Commission, Egbert Febo Jr., speaking to some investors in Calgary, Canada.
One of the things we've come to see is that people tend not to do what you expect them to do, but do what you expect. So we've taken the strategy, or adopted the strategy of not waiting for infractions of our laws to occur. We rather are being proactive by undertaking a lot of monitoring and evaluation. In fact, as we speak, the Petroleum Commission's monitoring and evaluation team is out there in the Honorable Minister's region looking at the operations of companies and all the rest. Some of the acts of infractions are, to go Shakespearean, are ones that you can say do not have methods. There's no madness in the methods. Or there's no method in the madness that you know are exhibited. Some are just out of ignorance. Those ones are very clear. We talk to them, we give them opportunities to revise and come, you know, in line. There are of course also some that are methodological consistently, and it's sometimes a collision between our own citizens who are indigenous businesses who are in the JVs with the foreign partners.
Now, female students from selected senior high and basic schools in the Ashanti region have attended science, technology, engineering and mathematics camp in Kumasi. They were exposed to the study of science-based courses at the tertiary level by introducing to them microscopic techniques and basic bacterial culturing practices, among other activities. It was organized by the Women in Technology Education in Development in collaboration with the Kumasi Technical University. Kwesi Deba reports.
Students worked with supervisors who are lecturers of Kumasi Technical University. Participants were exposed to the university's research activities in basic science practical. It's under the theme Promoting Gender Equity for Technology Education. President of WITED, Dr. Patricia Usudako, says it's about time women are given opportunities to choose science and technical courses.
Conference of Rectors of Polytechnics and VCs of technical institutions has observed with deep concern the large gap between female and male enrollment in science, engineering and technical programs, coupled with the low female staff participation in the affairs of technical universities at the top management level. Actually, if you come to even this institution, at the top management, we can say it's less than 10% of female staff involvement. That is why CAPA decided that we need to look into these gender issues to ensure that certain impediments and mindsets are removed. And to ensure again that there is gender equity and accessibility to technical and vocational education and training at all levels.
Various talks were held on career opportunities in STEM. The students and their tutors were educated on how to choose when applying for university programs.
And that's Business Live tonight. Thanks for watching. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We've got the latest for Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. Comments made by the boss of the African Development Bank asking that we break down all barriers to let the Continental Free Trade Agreement work. Of course, the trade agreement, hot topic there at Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. Read more about it on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Of course, we've got the latest in the Gulf as oil prices. There are speculations that oil prices could fall to $45 per barrel if the trade war escalates. Go to that website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Powell. Thanks for watching. We are back same time tomorrow.